Rol, can you show us anything from Belgium?
Yes, I try. Uh,
Here comes Ken.
Here I have prepared some data. Can you see it?
Yes.
So I'm from Belgium, in the east from Belgium now,
Mm,
and this is the location.
nice.
Can you read it?
Yes.
Okay. It's a Bortle 4. Yes, the moon, you know, is
Yes.
disturbing now.
Yes, very.
I use now the smaller one, the 6,
Hmm.
6SE, while
Yes.
my evolution is in repair mode.
Oh,
At
I
the
see.
moment, I have a star sense and view cap on. I use the Z3O
290.
290,
Hmm.
no filters, with a
Mm.
focal reduction of 0.5, which gives a small field of view, 1911 arc minutes.
Hmm.
There's a mini PC at the mount via
Mm.
local Wi-Fi hotspot.
Yes.
My inside laptop uh, is with the software Connectify
Yes.
making a hotspot.
Yes.
And I use then Windows Remote
Yes.
uh, to work on the mini
Hmm.
PC. All is powers with a power bank. Um, the mount is powered, the mini PC and the view stick.
Hmm.
I have a TP-Link VLAN repeater located in midway between laptop and mini PC at the outside. The software I'm running now is Stellarium, SharkCap with Astab or Astro Tortilla to play it solve,
Hmm.
Astro Planner, and
Yay.
Astab to identify images, imaged objects.
Yeah.
Focusing is done with a button of mask
Hmm.
beforehand. I have no automatic focuser on that small scope.
Yes.
The shortcut settings are for the mono camera, mono
Hmm.
16, bin 2,
Two.
bin
Two
2,
by two. Hmm.
capture area, gain
1936.
350, and no darks and no flats.
Wow.
So I'm particularly interested in the auto focusing routines
Uh-huh.
using SharkCap or Nina.
Yes.
I've seen already the YouTube from Doug.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow, that's great. You're so organized. Well, it's like Clockwork Orange, or something, Belgium.
Okay. So when I go here, this is the mini PC,
Yes.
and that's Polaris. Yeah. Okay. And
Mute up there. I got it. Or you can
I'm
unmute.
trying to have this on the side. I put it here.
While you're looking that up, let's welcome Ken. And Ken, where are you speaking from?
Midland, Michigan.
Midland, Michigan. Okay.
Yep.
This is
The home of
Roll.
Dow, the home of Dow International.
Oh, cool. This is Roll. He's speaking to us from Belgium, near Luxembourg. So he's going to log on to his scope, which is out in the cold. And he left his scope out there in the cold by itself, and he had the nerve. He came in the warmth and in the light, and he left his telescope all by itself out in the cold.
I wish I could have done that last night. I went out last night, and when I finally came in after my fingers and toes went numb,
Yes.
it was 27 up here
Oh, that's cold.
and a little bit of wind. I'm trying to learn this EAA stuff,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm very new at it.
Well,
Very new.
we all are, except for Robert. Robert's been doing it since last February, I think.
Yeah, just at the start of lockdown, March.
March.
Yes, so I wouldn't say I've had much practice
Well, it sure
because of
looked
the
like it.
weather.
It sure looked like it on that video you made this morning. Of course, that means you've been up all night, so or you stayed up till at least 2 last night. Stanley, where are you speaking from? Oh, he's still connecting to audio. Rol, whenever you can log on, go ahead. We can't see your screen yet where you've logged on.
Okay, I'm trying to go to NGC 5005.
Okay. Mike Jerry, he's kind of a celebrity. Mike logs on from out in the desert, I think. Jonathan, where are you speaking from?
I was having trouble getting my cursor over to the mute button.
Yes,
Arizona, Phoenix,
Arizona.
Phoenix, Arizona area.
Phoenix. Okay. Mike, you're like in Northern California desert or something, right?
You talking to me?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't realize I was visible yet. Yes, I'm in Eastern California. I'm about 25 miles southeast of Death Valley. I'm
Yes.
about 80 miles due west of Las Vegas.
Yes, we've heard your broadcasts, Mike. You're kind of a celebrity.
I don't know about that, but thank you.
Yeah, yeah. You have your telescope on concrete blocks glued together.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
My spare no expense portable pier.
Right.
So
Bob, where are you speaking from? Bob, if you don't mind, take yourself off mute for a second and tell us where you're speaking from.
Is that me you're talking?
No, there's also a Bob Mills. So there's a Robert Chandler, but we'll call you Robert, and we'll call Bob Mills Bob.
Okay, now that's clear. Hi, I'm in Western Massachusetts.
Western Massachusetts, how
where
interesting.
the sun is still up about another, well, probably the same as you, Doug.
Yep, that's right.
But actually, we're about to have what looks like the first decently clear night in 2 or 3 weeks.
Great, Bob. That's awesome.
So later on, I hope to get out there a little bit.
We want to try to get to Rol as soon as he gets logged onto his Wi-Fi out to his scope. Rol, how are you doing, brother?
Don't you see my screen?
No, we must have. Oh, is that your screen? All we're seeing is the Microsoft Word page.
I've got him on screen.
He wanted to show us. He wanted to show us the object, but all we're seeing is Word. Rol.
Oh, Roll. Have you got 2 screens? You may have to pick which screen you want to share.
Robert, if I'm not mistaken, you're providing technical support here for Rol, aren't you?
We're still Europeans. We still love each other.
Robert, we want to get to you next because you're short time. I think you've only got another hour, right?
No, that wasn't me. That was the.
That was Noah.
Rob.
Noah 4x4.
that was Phil.
Yeah,
Phil. Mhm. Phil has not logged on yet.
Well, hopefully he's not having problems.
Hopefully. Oh, there we go. Now you can see something happening here, Rol. Your closing word. Oh,
Okay.
now we've lost Belgium. Hello, Belgium.
It's better than nil point from the jury from UK.
Yes. Now we have Mike Jerry, but we also have another Mike. Now help me figure out who the other Mike is.
That's me.
Yes. And Mike, where are you speaking from?
Spain. Well, not
Miguel.
Spain.
Do we call you Miguel Spain?
You could call me that. Could call me a lot of things, but
Well, Mike, it's dark where you are, right? So do you have a scope out?
it's dark and cloudy, unfortunately.
Oh, cloudy. You Spanish, you know, between England and Spain, I haven't been able to keep up. The latest thing I'm reading is about Ryan Giggs. He was going to be a guest on the broadcast tonight, but
hey, just a minute. He's not
as it
English. He's
turns out,
Welsh.
As it turns
It's
out,
Welsh.
we weren't able to get him. He wasn't available.
He's a wife beater, apparently. Yeah.
Apparently, yes.
Until proven guilty.
I said
That's right,
apparently.
that's
I
right.
didn't say apparently.
That's right. Oh boy. Okay, so Rol, shall we go
Yes.
to Robert? Shall we go to Robert for a second and see if he's got a scope available? While you look this up, or do you have a screen
Yep.
ready to share?
Yep, just bear with me. I just got to work this out.
All right.
Technology. I don't know if you
Oh,
can
Rol is starting his screen sharing now. Oh yeah.
Yes.
There we go.
NGC 5005.
In a lot of moonlight.
Yeah. And
I go to 8 seconds.
8
and,
seconds.
And I have done the auto stretch to center the object.
Yes.
Now I redo it, reset it, and then I go to live stack.
Yes.
There is something. Okay. I'm struggling with the different screens.
There you go. Starting to look nice.
The moon is disturbing.
Yes. Very disturbing. So NGC 5005. I don't think I've ever imaged this before. Well, how did you pick this? Caldwell 29, an inclined spiral galaxy in the constellation Canis Venatici, has a relatively bright nucleus and a bright disk with multiple dust lanes. Hey, we're starting to see them. The galaxy's high surface brightness makes it an object that is visible to amateur astronomers using large amateur scopes. And you have a 6-inch and you're doing it.
Yes.
It's an X-ray emission source, low ionization nuclear emission region, LINER. I've never seen that acronym before. Low ionization nuclear emission region, LINER. Huh. I like this that you're showing us a brand new target here, Rol.
Actually, the previous screen showed him having his Electron 8.
Oh, was it an 8? Rol, I
Yeah.
thought you were on a 6.
This is
That's what it said on the screen.
Oh yes, here, but
But you're using the 6 tonight.
that's the Evolution 8 standard here. But I'm using a 6 now.
Yes. He's on a 6
Oh.
tonight.
Indication
Oh, okay.
is not okay. Yeah.
Just didn't rename his telescope object in
That's right.
Stellarium. That's all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's all.
Got it.
So we're at 125%. This thing is pretty small, isn't it, Rol?
It is small, yes.
Yeah, but you're bringing it in well for us. Now tell us how you decide what to put your little vertical bars down in the lower histogram. How do you decide how do you decide where to put those?
I start here with the auto stretch,
Yes,
but you see the moon is disturbing, so
yes,
what I do is here go to the black point,
yes,
and then here I make a correction
yes,
to better see the core.
Yeah.
And then to make everything the black background.
yes,
I can shift here.
right. Bravo, Rol. How long have you been doing this, Rol?
It's now 5 years now.
5 years, no wonder. Okay, I won't feel quite so guilty that you're so good at all this. 5 years head start. All right, Rol, you keep working there and let's go to Robert for a second.
Yep. Okay.
You might have to stop screen sharing. Now, Robert is imaging from the end of the runway at Gatwick Airport.
Almost.
The telescope is just below the trajectory of the 767s that are taking off there, or whatever they are.
Yeah, I can't share my screen at the moment until
I guess if you would be willing to stop screen sharing up there at the top, Rol,
Yeah.
there you go. Robert,
Okay.
now Robert has a thing he did last night, or I should say, Robert, early this morning. How late did you stay up last
about
night?
3 a.m.
3 a.m.
Yeah, bear with me. I'm just going to my iPad.
And,
I'm slightly different to most of you guys, in as much as I'm using the ASI Air Pro for most of my imaging, simply because I'm lazy and I like the functionality of it. This is for weather that I'm currently having. So I've only got about an hour or so before I have to go. Just want to show you where I'm sort of shooting from. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, we can.
Yep, the pin is where I'm based.
Wow.
Horsham.
Yeah, if you carry on to the south, follow the M23 to Crawley, that's where Gatwick is. So that's where I'm shooting from. Anyway, I'll just go to Siri.
You know, Robert, you are sometimes very humble, but this is pretty cool that you've got your iPad mirrored and everything so we can see what you're seeing.
What's the only way? It's a similar to SharpCap. I'm desperately trying to get SharpCap to work. You know the trouble that I'm having. I'm trying to get it to plate solve and everything like that.
But this is great what you're doing already.
This is M3.
Wow.
So you can see that was a 5-second shot when I was just aligning. This is the ASI Air interface. You've got various icons on the left and on the top, which are the controls. Have a histogram. Oops, sorry, I'm keep on clicking on the screen when I should be clicking on the mouse. It's got a histogram showing, which not a lot really because it's quite black up there at the moment. So it gives an indication of what there is on there. I have a focuser with
Nice.
I've got an autofocuser set up. So if you want me to show you
Yes.
how the autofocus works,
Show us.
which is relatively easy. I'm using the RASA 8 on AZ EQ6 GT mount, and I've got the Skywatcher Evo Guide 50 ED guide scope, which is connected at the moment. So what I would do is I would get to close focus as much as I can initially, using the I keep on clicking on the screen, fast or slow option, and once I've got near focus, I then just click on the autofocus button, click on that, and what will happen is I've set this for 2 seconds now just to oh, it says it's failed. Let's try again. It will try and find a star to focus on, and then it will go through its auto routine, and it's picked a star. See the green dot down here. That's where it's currently sort of focused on, and this is the position on the telescope, the on the count.
The stops.
Yep.
And it will continue taking sort of 2-second snapshots. And the idea is to get this number here as small as possible and this number here as high as possible. I don't know what's happening at the moment. It's gone a bit screwy because it's usually quite a nice sort of V curve. And and it's kicked it right out because it was at 3 earlier on. So it's now started the process again.
You might already have some high clouds, huh, Robert?
Yeah, it's not looking too good, and you can see the star roughly.
Yes.
Sort of going there. And what it's going to do is it's going to sort of extrapolate, and we get this V curve.
Yes.
That will come out.
Is this half flux?
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't ask me to say what it is. I'll let you sort of do that.
HF something.
Yeah. So it's calculating to try and get that star as small as possible.
Yes.
FWHM.
That's it.
Full width, half maximum.
Full width, half maximum. Okay.
I'm glad someone's paying attention. It was just a test. Looks like this may take a little while, so apologies. I had it sort of focused.
Now you're getting a nice. You're getting a nice line there now.
Yeah.
Now this is all within ASI Pro.
Air Pro, yeah.
Air Pro.
Yeah. So that's basically it's a Raspberry Pi mini computer packaged by ZWO, so they put it in their own shiny box. And I think that's what you can buy the Raspberry Pi and then Astroberry software,
Nice.
which you can use. But as I said, this is everything is included in VASI, so I don't do anything.
It's a great line you're getting. Hey, while you're doing this, I want to make sure that I ask my wife, Penny, to turn on her video for a second and just unmute herself and say hello. I wanted her to meet all of you all and see what a broad range of personalities we have here, from, you know, Robert there at Gatwick Airport and Wol in Belgium. Penny, can you take your video, turn your video on, please, and say hello? No?
I'm trying.
Her audio's on.
Okay.
She's
I'm not good with
unmuted.
this stuff. I'm not like you.
No, that's okay. I just wanted you to meet all these guys because there you are. I talk about all these guys and I wanted you to meet all of them.
Hi, guys.
All right.
Okay, that's enough.
We won't put you on the spot there, Penny. Thank you for saying hello.
I'm listening.
Okay, great. Robert, while you're focusing, let's pick up Stuart. Where are you speaking from, Stuart?
I'm in Colorado,
Okay.
Boulder, Colorado, and yes.
Okay.
Oh, cell phone.
Is that
Cell
right?
phone?
Are you on a cell phone?
No.
Okay.
No,
Jeff,
that was
how
your. That's your avatar, I thought. Selfo, isn't it Selfo?
Oh, SLFO, yes. Yeah,
SLFO,
that's
got
just
it.
my first initial and part of my last name.
Yeah, I got
it.
it when I saw your name.
What
Yeah.
about Jeff? Jeff Carpenter, where are you speaking from, Jeff?
I'm here in St. Louis, Missouri.
St. Louis.
Yeah, I'm Broglock, BROGLOCK.
Okay. Boy, it's good to have you representing the Arches. Tiago, are you in España? ¿Dónde está?
No, in Portugal, near Spain.
Portugal,
I'm
okay.
near the border with Spain.
Portugal.
In the south.
So do you know Cristiano Ronaldo personally?
No.
Okay. All
No,
right.
no.
Okay.
Personally, no.
Okay. Let's see. Gary, you're out in San Diego, aren't you?
Yes, I am in San Diego. Sorry for the delay there.
No problem. Good to have you. And Jim, where are you speaking from?
South Dakota, Custer, South Dakota.
South Dakota. That sounds so cowboyish.
Not really. Born and raised in New Jersey.
Oh, well, no, never mind. How about Say, C-E-Y? Where are you speaking from, Say? Might have to unmute. Take yourself off mute if you can. Say. I don't know how to say that. C-E-Y, Say. Well, if you can get yourself unmuted in a moment, please do so. We'd love to meet you. Robert, how's your focus
Yep,
routine
it's
going?
done.
Good.
The red dot there represents the focus point. So the next stage in my work I'll keep on clicking on the screen instead of the iPad,
Okay.
is to go to the screen and just hit go.
So
This section here is a mini scope or mount control. So you've got the various directions and speed,
Yes.
and that tells me the RA and deck.
Yeah.
And I've also, as I said, I'm concentrating on M3 at the moment, which you can see in the center of the screen.
And do they let you, you're stacking now, is that right?
No, it's just a preview. I've got it on a continuous sort of a loop.
Does ASI Pro Air let you stack?
Yeah. I'll show that to you in a minute if that's okay.
Sure.
But the other thing that I can do, so I'm just going to get rid of the preview, continuous preview. So what I can do is plate solve.
Oh, good. You've
so
made such progress in 1 month, Robert.
I wouldn't say this. I've been using this for a while. It's just sharp cap. I can't get my head around.
But in the last month, you've made such progress.
Thank you. So plate solve it took 0.3 of a second. So sync mount. And I've also got various crosshairs, annotate. Let's get rid of crosshair.
Oh, nice.
So I can see what's around, just to confirm that is the target that I'm looking at. It's got a detect start. I've not used this feature, so I'm not quite sure what that does. It doesn't look like it does much. But these are the options. So on a live, I would you have to put in your flats, darks and bias frames beforehand. I'm just going to go to a 30-second exposure, change 30 seconds.
I'm not going to lie, Robert. I like this. This is nice.
I think I prefer in the functionality of sharp cap, to be perfectly honest.
Is that right?
Yeah. It's also on the bottom here. It gives you a little bit of information. It tells me the gain that I'm using. I'm using an ASI 294 MC color. Again, because I'm lazy, I'm not into, although I have got a mono camera and filters, I like the functionality of just being able to sort of shoot once. Temperature of the sensor, and I've got it set to -10 ambient. And this is the stacking information. It's stacked one. It's just going to load the image into the screen, and then it will carry on from there. And that's basically very, very quickly everything. So that's stacked one. And this number here, I've set it to 2 hours. So it would just keep shooting for 2 hours.
Nice.
There's a new something, it's the beta version at the moment, but there's something, they call it plan mode, where you can set a series of targets.
Like Sequence Generator Pro almost.
Yeah, pretty much. I've not tried that. That's been last 2 to 3 days, I think it is, that it's been out. But this is my imaging, and I'm just pinching out a bit. So obviously it's still quite noisy.
Just 2 frames though.
Yeah.
2 subframes.
Yeah. So anyway, that's
Robert, now when you made that video, which was in the wee hours of the morning, was that on OBS?
Yes.
I think everybody should jot down your YouTube channel and go watch that video after we're done. It's
not live. It's just for friends and family. I'm not that confident. to
But
go to.
it's on YouTube though, right?
Yeah. But I've got it as unlisted.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, it's so good, Robert. You need to publish that.
Okay.
What Robert did, gang, he set up 3 telescopes and he said, let me show you the same target in all 3 telescopes. So it lets you look at the field of view of a Rasa and a what else?
It was a Space Cat, William Optics Space Cat 250.
William Optics. And
the Skywatch 120 ED.
Skyward, and he shows like 4 targets in all 3 telescopes, one after another. And I just felt like I was at the circus. I mean, I watched the hippos and the lions and the trapeze act, and I went back to the hippos. It was wonderful, Robert.
Thank you.
Robert,
it was hard work.
I bet.
Robert, that would be very helpful for me, because right now the scope that I'm using is borrowed. And the same gentleman who loaned me this one's going to loan me a C6. I'm just starting out and got the AVX mount.
Your public is asking for you, Robert. They want you to publish this.
Yeah, I'm in on it too. I'd love to see it.
Oh yeah.
It's fun.
I will unlist it and give you the details a little bit later on.
Okay, you can send that to that. Well, you can put it on Cloudy Nights, but I was going to say you could send it to the little groups.io thing.
Yeah.
On the chat, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's basically, your channel is called Astronomy from My Garden.
No, that's just a title. It's astrophotography from my back garden.
Astrophotography from My Back Garden.
Yeah, and there's lots of people that are doing it, but I'm not. As I say, let me. I'll put the link up in a moment.
Okay.
And if there's any target that someone would like me to sort of go to, whilst other people are doing, I'm quite happy to see what I can see from my light polluted back garden.
All right. Does anyone else have a scope live? I know Roll does. Rob, what about you? Do you have a scope?
Yeah, well, I've just reset it because the capture folder had been renamed at midnight and I forgot to update it. So.
I hate it when that happens. What about Thiago? Do you have a scope?
Yeah, it's right behind me.
Is it live?
Cloudy Night.
Oh, Cloudy Night.
Yeah, he has a cloud.
Just like the name of the
Yeah.
forum. Does anybody else have a scope that's actually aimed? Quite a few of the rest of us are in daylight still. Okay, so why don't we just have everybody introduce themselves? And I tell you what, I'm going to use my iPhone because we're all basically, it's the first time we've met, so we're going to be long-winded if I'm not careful. Do we want to give everybody 2 minutes? What do you think is a logical amount of time? 2 minutes each? Does that sound right?
I think you're the only one that can talk that long.
All right, I'm going to set a timer here on 2 minutes. I got to be careful and not put this on 2 hours. Okay, so I'll hold this up. Where will I hold it? Yeah, I'll hold it up there. And to tell you what, Rob, why don't you start out? Since we were talking to you, you're, instead of the Gatwick side, you're the Stansted side. You can tell us whatever you want. You can say, what kind of equipment you have, or if you have a question, or if you want to share something you're learning.
Okay. I'll start with the equipment I'm using. It's an 8SE Celestron on the old TARDIS valve. I've tweaked it slightly because I've extended the scope forward so I can get a DSLR on the back of it and swing right the way through. So that's just using a standard Celestron extra rail. And then I use a battery pack and a bit of lead to balance it up. And I'm just at the moment, I'm just going to try and, we're sort of very bright here tonight, obviously with the moon, and I've got a little bit of low haze and a number of trees in the way. So I'm just going to go back onto the star cluster. I think it's about the only thing I can see tonight.
Okay.
So I'm going to go and try and find M13. So I'll just see if I can share what I'm doing.
So I owned a CPC-8, but I don't understand what you mean. You extended it with a rail? Does that mean you like raised it up?
Well, there's a universal rail that Celestron provide, which bolts straight on with a couple of.
I had no idea.
Couple of screws, and that's enough to stick the scope forward enough to get the DLS on the back.
That's a good solution. That's ingenious. By the way, Robert has posted that link. You can copy that to your clipboard, I hope, so you can go watch that 3-ring circus he did. Okay, Rob, go ahead.
So I'm just gonna, I'm gonna just, I've got to go around the houses now because I've got a cable wraps enabled.
Now,
but I'm just gonna go back onto what I was on earlier tonight.
How far is your scope outside, Rob?
It's about three meters from the building, but
That's not far.
I'm hooked up with got an old laptop outside running SharpCat, CPWI, and Canon utility, and I'm running that through a Cat6 cable to inside, where I'm sitting nice and warm at the moment.
Nice.
And that works quite well. I tried Wi-Fi, but it just kept dropping out. So it's got 30-odd meter cable, and it just.
Well, why don't we go to another participant and you tell us when you have it aimed, okay?
Yeah, okay. I've got. It's just searching on M13 now because all I can see tonight is clusters because it's just bright out two galaxies from my camera.
No problem. So let's see. Rol has already introduced himself a bit, and Robert, what about you, Ken? Can you take your 2 minutes?
Hang on one second. I lost it.
Oh, okay. You got a handout.
Let me see if I can't get my screen back.
Okay. Your wife might have taken it there, Ken. She was walking through the room.
There we go.
Oh, great.
Well, I recently had to give up my other hobby.
What was your other hobby?
Model railroading.
Oh, sorry about that.
And well, I gave it up because of my back. I can't stand on my feet for a long time.
I see.
So I have always been interested in astronomy, the physics, some of the physics behind the astronomy, and my career was 180 degrees opposite of that. But I finally, after all these years, many years, bought a scope in May, bought a 10-inch Dobsonian.
Oh my goodness, and your back is out?
Yeah, it's no longer here.
I was going to say.
I sold it. I actually sold it. It's Eastern Michigan University professor bought it for his group.
Nice.
And like I said, I have a friend, Joe Brusso, who lives near me, and Dale Pincala, who are both photographers. And Joe is he's a professor at SVSU. And he loaned me his Astrotech 6-inch Newtonian that I'm using now, just trying to learn on. And he's gonna loan me he has a 6-inch SE, Celestron SE, that he's gonna loan me to see how I like that.
Nice.
And basically, I'm just getting into the photography. I have that. I have an AVX mount and a 385 MC camera.
Nice. Boy, 2 minutes goes fast, Ken. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
All right, Stanley. Listen, this is a 2 minute clock. Ready to start? Okay. Okay, you're on. Whoops, I'm going to restart it. I'm going to restart it because you had them. Okay, go ahead.
I had to find the unmute button. Hi, folks. I'm Stan Herman. Right now, I'm in middle part of New Hampshire, USA, right on Lake Winnipesaukee, the big lake right in the middle of the state. It's my second home. I've been here for a long time due to COVID, but I'll be heading back to my primary residence in Virginia next week. So I have a lot of my stuff packed up. I've been an amateur astronomer since around 2000. And for the last, say, maybe 3 or 4 years, I got into EAA, electronic-assisted astronomy, strictly with Malin cams, everything from the Junior Pro right up through my newest one, which is the Universe. And that's the one I've been really cutting my teeth on for these last few months. And I'll be taking that down with me to Virginia for our Astronomy Day club event in May. So hopefully get some good performance with that. I usually do the outreach programs before COVID, of course, and that's where I found EAA to be really useful. But now I'd like to go a little further with all the new cameras that are out there. Obviously, I'd like to try new ones. I have several telescopes, about 20 of them, ranging in size from 72 millimeters up through my.
Wait, I'm gonna pause the timer. Did you say 20 telescopes?
Yeah.
20.
I have
Okay.
10 here in New Hampshire and 10 in
Okay, I
Virginia.
resumed it. I resumed it. Go ahead.
I have a very understanding wife. I mean, at least she knows where I am when I go out. But I do a lot of visual. I have I have an Obsession 15-inch for visual, but I use my SETs primarily for the video. I'm from a 6, an 8, or a 925. They all do very well. I just have to. I have a large learning curve, but just looking at some of the stuff that was shown tonight, that's way above my pay grade right now. But I'm getting there. I do like the Malin cams because I can use them with or without a computer, and that makes it real nice on the on the star parties. I also do solar. I have a Lunt, solar scope, and that works out well for video also.
Nice. Stanley, what is your log on at cloudy nights?
My log on at cloudy nights would be C Sparky.
C Sparky. Okay.
I'm an amateur radio operator, so that's,
okay.
That's where that comes from.
That's awesome. All right. Well, Mike, we're going to run to you for 2 minutes. How about that?
That works for me. My name is Mike Jerry. One thing I might recommend to folks is you can rename yourself in the meeting. And if you do, as I have done, you have your real name, and then you can put your avatar name, your screen name in Cloudy Nights on there, and then people can match up who they know you are online with who you actually are, which I think is kind of helpful. I can actually do a little bit of a show and tell here. If I can take the screen, I will show you. Many of you probably, I need to get this. Where is the share screen button? And there it is. Okay, and I'm going to try and show you. Here we go. Okay, and I'll show you my setup. So this is what I use when I'm doing my my live streaming. It's a 6-inch f4 imaging Newtonian that I got used on Cloudy Nights, and it's riding on a Celestron Evolution mount, which I got used on Cloudy Nights. And all that is riding on a Celestron HD wedge, which I got used on Cloudy Nights. And then all of that is on top of the cinder block, the spare no expense cinder block pier. As Doug said earlier, it's all construction adhesive glued together. It's not glued to the pad, so I can still use it, move it with a two-wheel dolly if I need to, but it stays out there. And so the wedge and the pier stay in place, stay permanently polar aligned. So when I set up at night, all I have to do is bring out the mount and the scope and do a star align with the star sense that you can see on the side of the scope there, and then I'm ready to go. So it simplifies setup a lot. I still have to do flats and things like that when I'm doing my imaging, but it saves me a lot of time to be able to do that. So, and then you can see there's the table that I sit at and the computer that I use and all that kind of stuff is right there. So that's kind of the command center for when I'm doing my live streams. I don't remote them in the house. I actually do them right outside.
Fantastic. We're going to have to come back to you because, Mike, we want you to tell us more about how you do these broadcasts. I tell you what, Stanley, I know we're going to have to come back to you because we want to see a list of your 20 telescopes before this night is done. But let's go to Jonathan. This is just kind of our introductions. Let's go to Jonathan Betts in Arizona. Jonathan, would you give us your introduction? And then, Mike, if you want to stop screen sharing. Yeah, there you go. So, Jonathan, why don't you say hello and give us your 2-minute introduction.
How's it going? So I actually got for Christmas, I've been interested in astronomy for a long time. Had a old Meade 4.5-inch scope that I had that was kind of just, the mount was horrible. It was kind of a horrible scope to use, but I ended up getting a new scope for Christmas. And my wife, I was going to try to share my screen here real quick. My wife bought me a Celestron 6SE. So just on the alt-az mount. And at first I was just starting out with visual, but then, living in Phoenix with, probably a best Bortle 6 where I live, and it's going to get worse because I'm kind of on the outskirts. But if you know anything about Phoenix, Arizona, you know that we build houses like crazy here.
Yeah.
So, basically just to be able to use it in the, galaxies and things like that late at night or at night, I wanted to be able to, EAA was something that really struck my interest. So I actually invested in a Hyperstar 6 V4, which I just got a couple weeks ago from Starzona down in Tucson. I actually drove down and set it up with them, and I got an ASI 183 MC Pro cooled.
Nice.
And then I've got the ASAI Air Pro as well. So connect it with my iPad, and just like I forget who it was showing us, and
Robert.
Away you go. So still trying to learn how all this works, and it's been pretty fun though. I've had a lot of fun with it.
That's awesome.
So far.
Jonathan.
The
That's
Hyperstar
great stuff.
definitely, I think, makes it easy to learn because you have that wide field of view.
We
So,
want your wife to start a wives club with all of ours, and somehow pass along this gene so that she buys you gear, and
with mine, I hope that when I die, she doesn't sell my equipment for the price I told her that I paid.
Robert, let's hope you don't die right away. All right, Jonathan, anything else? We took up some of your time there.
no, real quick, this is from last night actually. So this is M101, I believe. Yeah, the Whirlpool Galaxy.
You're gonna share your
Oh,
screen
I thought I
and show
did.
us?
Sorry. Share. There we go.
Okay.
There you go. So this is from
Oh,
last night with the
that's
Hyperstar
nice.
M101.
Yes, look at that jet black sky. Wow.
Yeah, that's with adjusting the histogram. Basically I find with the ASI Air Pro that like if I put the histogram just to the right, the black line just to the right of the peak, usually you get rid of most of the gray. I definitely, get a lot of light pollution and stuff like that. I think it's light pollution that's coming through. On the other pictures, but
you can see all the stars in those arms, the star birthing regions. That's beautiful. Boy, you're doing great, Jonathan. You're off to a fantastic start. And that was your first night with that?
That was this was actually my first. There's a couple other cuts I was taking. This was, let's see.
Second or third night. That's amazing.
That's the wrong direction. Hold on. Let me see here. I think I can get quicker this way.
Oh yeah, that's your scope.
Yeah, so this was the Bose Nebula right here.
Yeah.
And so there's some of the pictures, like this is kind of the auto setting. This is what I get, right? And then after I adjust the histogram, then I get that's with adjustments. So.
Right.
Wow.
It's beautiful.
So
Great.
It's pretty easy setup, and I'm pretty excited about it. And I tried sharing some stuff about it already, and as I learn more, I still want to challenge myself with going to I got a 6.3 vocal reducer. I still haven't tried that out yet.
What's your Cloudy Nights name again, Jonathan?
It's creative. It's JJ Betts.
JJ Betts. So you don't have to be ashamed of that. We're glad. It's one less thing to have to remember. Okay. Well, thanks so much, Jonathan. That was very interesting. I'm sure we'll be back at you before the night is over, but let's see.
Here you go, Doug. Do you have a look at this? It's coming in now.
Yes, Robert. Rob, we're back at you.
I'll just, this is M13 for.
Can you share your screen if you would?
I'm just trying to do that. There we go. Right. I'm coming over.
Ooh. Is that you? That's so beautiful.
Nice.
Yeah, that's 22 subs at 10 seconds at 6,400 on a DLSR. So that's not too bad, I don't think.
It's beautiful.
Let's go back where we got it. There we go.
Okay, Gary. Sorry, we have to lose you, Gary. Wow, that's beautiful. Look at how we can resolve those stars there down in that nucleus now.
Wow.
In the core. Wow. Look at that core. That's beautiful.
That's not too bad for DLSR, is it?
No, that especially on a moonlit. What is it? 90% night or something?
Yeah. So I've just just slightly to the right of the peaks here, because that just. If I go onto the peaks, I get too much vignetting coming in and grays it all out. Too much light pollution, so I just go just to the right of the peak.
Rob, how do you do your focus?
I'll show you in a minute. I've got a couple of seconds.
Oh, he's got a Batonov mask. He went out to put a Batonov mask on, maybe?
Not when he's on a star cluster. It won't work very well.
No, but maybe he went out to get his mask. He's going to bring it in and show it to us, I bet.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing because I use a lid off. If you, the British people and the English people, I use a lid off a Cadbury Celebration tin, which just cuts as a off mask.
Oh my goodness! Did you cut that out yourself?
It fits the 8SE perfectly.
How did you cut that out, Rob?
Carefully.
Wow. What did you use? A razor knife?
No, yeah, just a craft knife. So that's a Cadbury Celebration plastic lid, and it fits onto the 8SE perfectly.
You need to put that on cloudy nights so we can all make fun of you using that.
Yeah, I mean
that's incredible. Well done.
Chips.
Well done.
That should be your profile pic.
Yeah. Rob, we're all impressed. Thank you. You're doing great, man. All right, let's continue with these introductions. Let's see, who are we down to? I think, what about Bob Mills?
Okay, so I'm one of these guys who had a telescope when I was 11 years old, a Tasco 60 millimeter in a little cedar box. And despite that, I actually used it and managed to see a few things I even remember, like M13 and M31 and stuff like that. And then I went away for 60 years and, you know, kept reading about astronomy and cosmology and a bunch of things like that, but didn't touch a scope. And then in December, a friend was selling his scope and I ended up not buying it, but it sort of put the bug back in my ear. And I found a used scope not 5 miles away from me, a 6SE. And so I bought that. And then I realized shortly after I started using it that my eyes at 71 were not quite the same as they were at 11. And I also, the skies are not as clear as they were 60 years ago. So I found out about this EAA thing and I thought, this sounds like just the ticket because I'm a computer geek anyway. So I now have an ASI 294 and I use ASI Studio or ASI Live is the part that I use mostly for stacking. And yeah, I think that's probably the main points.
Remind us of what scope you have, Bob.
It's a Nexstar 6SE.
Oh, that's right. 6SE.
Oh, and the one thing I did want to say is the whole reason that I decided I could tackle this is that man, Roland Boudry right there.
Yes.
His pictures inspired me that, holy crap, you can actually do this on a 6SE. So thank you, Roland.
From Belgium. From Belgium, you affected Western Massachusetts.
Yeah, totally. So I've been having a blast with that. The most recent thing I got is I ordered an AUX-Fi from this guy in Ukraine. It's like a knockoff of the Sky Portal, but it dangles off of a little telephone cord instead of being fixed. So it doesn't get hit when my camera comes down to the zenith.
Wings. Yes.
Yeah. So, and I've just started using that, but it looks like that's going to be great because then I can get away from the handset on the 6SE, which is the only thing that I truly despise about it.
Yes.
I don't mind the red dot finder too much, although I have put on a green laser pointer, and that's what I actually tend to use mostly because it's just more physically convenient. But the handset on that thing, I mean, for me as a technologist who's written computer interfaces, I'm like, oh my God, this is like 40 years out of date.
Okay.
So that's my story.
That's great, Bob. That's awesome. Well, we're glad that you're back from your 60-year hiatus. All right, Mike, you're from Spain, but you don't sound like you have a Spanish accent.
No, I've been around the world a bit. I'm a Brit. I lived in the States for about 30 years, actually, in Philadelphia for a lot of that. And I got into astronomy last June when my brother in the UK, in Surrey, who's a very keen astronomy, has, you know, an outdoor shed observatory, convinced me to buy a Dobson that he'd saw up for sale on, you know, the UK for sale site thing in Benidorm. So I went down there last June and picked up this Skywatcher Dobson 14-inch, not knowing a thing about it. Managed to fit it in my car, brought it up here, and actually I can maybe share a screen. and
14
then
inch. That so far that wins the prize, I think, for being.
yeah, it's a beast. I've nicknamed it Nelly, as in Nelly the elephant. Hence my meme, my logo on the cloudy nights thing. It's elephants looking through a telescope.
Oh, okay.
And this is how I have it set up at the moment. This was a few weeks ago when it was pretty chilly, so I also include this body heater here, this propane heater, to keep me warm. So that's the Dobson there. At the moment, I've got a 294C on it. I originally started out trying to do planets and Mars with a 224 MC, but that was too much work for me in terms of processing. And that's when I latched on to the idea of EAA. Originally was trying it with an unmodified Canon 450. And I mean, I could pretty much see clusters and a few things and some galaxies, but it wasn't really good. And when I bought this 294C MC, that was the game changer. I mean, if you check my Astrobin site, I've got really nice, Horsehead Nebula, the Flame Nebula, things like that. It's just great.
What is your Cloudy Nights handle again, Mike?
Mike Huerto, Mike Huerto. I'll write it up on the chat in a minute.
Yes, Mike Huerto.
What I really like doing is, can you see this now, the second screen I put up, or do I need to reach it? Yep. Is putting it up on the big screen. So this is M82.
Oh no, we can't see that. We can't see that.
Oh, okay, I got to stop and re-share.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So this is what I really love doing, is putting it on the big screen as I'm live stacking.
Yes.
And this was using the 224, which has a really small sensor, and it's a bit tricky even finding M82 with that thing. But I've managed to get. I use the SynScan app Pro to control the mount. It's a go-to, and then SharpCap dovetails into the SynScan app using the SynScan driver. So I have the ASCOM platform and all that installed on the computer. And I've got plate solving now working really nicely for the Dob. So it's kind of like getting an elephant to dance, really. So
wow. So, but you don't have tracking. So how long does it stay on the screen?
With the 294, it's actually, I don't have to nudge it or anything. On the 294 for 20 to 30 minutes without a problem. The only problem I have is rotation. Okay, obviously at that level.
Okay, yeah.
With the 224, I'm literally nudging it every 10 seconds, left or right, left or right.
Yes.
So that image there, that was a lot of work to do it. But with the 294, I just let it go. And normally with the 294 and the 14-inch Dobson, for something like the Horsehead or the Flame Nebula, 10 minutes is enough and you get it.
Boy, I'll tell you what, I can guarantee you all of us in this room are jealous of that 14-inch view, but not a one of us in this room is jealous of you having to nudge. None of us are jealous of
No, that I say, when I switched over the 294, because I was sick of doing this, and I forked out the money, and that really helped it.
Wow, that's fantastic stuff.
So I'm enjoying myself here. I mean, I've been doing this for less than a year, and I like the technology aspect of it, and I like the instant, kick that you just see what you get.
Yes, that's good. All right, well, great to meet you, Mike. Jim, I think you're next. What can you tell us, Jim? South Dakota.
Yeah, well, I've been into it maybe for about 3 years. I have a Celestron 8 and a Meade 10. And I just acquired a SkyPod observatory. So that's my next project.
Nice.
But I want to let you folks know that my real reason for being here is to watch how you work, because I'm very interested in being able to broadcast to the members of my club and to the public in general. So I've been watching you guys for quite a while now, and I'm really interested in how you work with the software to bring together all the different images you have, the live images of your scope, your software, and all that. So I'm going to be watching you. You might not hear me, but I'll be there.
Well, Jim, we're going to be jealous of you because of your mead. I bet that's a beautiful telescope.
It is, and I bought it at an auction for a wonderful price, and that's what started me. I love that. I love
I
that.
bet it's just beautiful. What is your handle on Cloudy Nights?
TS Bikes.
TS Bikes.
Yeah, I used to be a bicycle dealer.
Okay, cool. All right, let's see. Jonathan, we already did you. How about Jeff? What a background you've got going on there, Jeff. Tell us about, is that real or is that virtual? Oh, you got to pull yourself off mute if you don't mind.
Sorry, I forgot I was on mute. That is actually the Orion from this year. Basically, I've been doing this for just about a year, just a little over. Had to retire due to some back issues.
Oh, we're sorry to hear that.
I don't know if you can all see that or not.
Are you standing on your, oh, that's your vertebrae.
Yeah, that's the lower, all the L's and then S1.
Ouch.
So I tried where I was in the elevator industry. Tried working for quite a few years there. And
I've heard that job has its ups. I've heard that job has its ups and downs.
It certainly does. I had 4 different surgeries, 2 on the low back and 2 on the upper neck. When I retired, I thought I could do some hot rod. I'm into cars. Unfortunately, that did not work out.
Ouch.
So I turned my attention. I had a C90. I have a C90. It's not anywhere close by. But that's what I had, and I was kind of checking that out, and then eventually I bought a 6SE. I bought that new off of Amazon. Tried looking just visually. That didn't work out with my back. So I understand where Ken is coming from.
Yeah.
And so I wound up with a bulk purchase on eBay because I thought if I upgraded the mount, it would work. And I went with an AVX. I now have a CGX on a CGEM tripod. So I've graduated way up. I've gone from C90, as you can see what's in the background. This is one of my newer ones. That's a Cave Astrola that I've been kind of working on the rotating rings. So in 1 year, I've wound up, I was trying to count them all. I wound up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this is one I'm making, which is going to be an 8-inch f4 newt. I'm waiting on the mirror to come back from OWL now. So that's pretty much, I have somebody here to thank you for one, Roland, Mike. There's a couple here that's not here. I know Noah couldn't make it because of his job. So, but if it wasn't for a lot of you here, I wouldn't be here because I thought I couldn't do anything and was going to sell everything. I've actually sold both 6SEs that I've had, but I thought maybe astrophotography would work, and I started messing around in that. Then did a little search because I am a little bit of a computer nerd eventually, and found Cloudy Nights before I ever joined in a local astronomy club. Once I did join the local astronomy club, everything shut down like within 2 weeks after I did so. So I got to go to one public star party, and then everything's been virtual on Zoom. So, but they've been great, as well as Cloudy Nights. I wouldn't be anywhere without either entity. And
I tell you what, Stan, he's given you a run for your money there. He's up to like 6 or 7. He's hot pursuit behind your 20, I think. So, yeah.
No, I better slow down or I'm going to wind up divorced. And I don't know.
I just saw a video today. The guy had a shirt on that said, "I love my wife." And then when you looked in very fine print, maybe you've seen it, it was, "I love it when my wife buys me astronomy equipment," or something like that. It was in very small print between the. Okay, so how do we say your name, brother?
That is Carpentier, just Carpentier. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was wondering about CEY, say, or.
Oh, say, yes, we were wondering about.
There we go. Hello, how are you doing?
Doing fine.
Okay, good. Yeah, you've been saying it correctly. Just say
Okay,
CEY.
say. Where are you speaking from, say?
I am in Seattle. Where is
Seattle?
Cloudy as usual. So let's see. I got 2 minutes. I got into. I've been interested in astronomy all my life as a young kid, through adult, whatnot. Around July, my mom gave me her 8-inch Dobsonian. So I decided to see what I could see from my very light polluted skies here. I'm probably Bortle 7. I overlook Seattle, so I'm really close. Saw a couple of things, got interested. A friend of mine found out that, I was looking at this, so he let me his Celestron 6 and started looking around and stumbled onto Cloudy Nights in the EAA forum and was amazed at what some people were posting from Bortle 8 skies, Bortle 7 skies. I thought they were fakes. They were too good to be true. But I took the dive in and been doing this for 6 months now. And about 3 weeks ago, I finally got my own telescope. I got an 8-inch Celestron AVX. I've been having fun with the whole new scope, and let's see what I have at 294 MC, which I just love the big field of view and the color. And that is, that's my enjoyment right now has been the planetary nebula, even though not many out now. So I've been looking at galaxies and thinking about getting a mono camera now.
Okay. Wow. Say, now, what's the history on your name? How does that come? Where does that come from?
That's a nickname that I got a long time ago. So it's just so usually that's the name I use up on boards and things like that.
Got it. Is that your Cloudy Nights name too? Or?
Yep, say 42.
Say 42.
So CEY 42 is my client. Yeah.
Got it.
Oh, and the one cool thing that I just recently discovered, technology-wise, is USB over Ethernet, like Cat5 cable. So I was running a 30-foot USB cable into my house from my deck, and I really wanted like a 50-foot one or 60-foot one, so I didn't have to move my computers. And I discovered there's Cat5 or USB 2, which you can do like 200 feet over Cat5, which is like, oh, that makes life so much better. So,
oh my goodness. Say, do you mind putting a link up in the chat so that maybe we can see where you got that, because all of us will be interested in that.
Yeah, I could see if I could find it again on Amazon. It was an Amazon purchase, as everything in life is.
Oh, thanks. Okay, Jeff, yeah. I think that takes us over to you. Jeff Horn.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
I was slated to be in Utah today and got sick and had to come home yesterday, so no more dark skies for me. Anyway, I've been in this visually since about last March. I had ordered a Celestron 8 and was doing some visual, and then about December, January, I got a camera and I've been enjoying some great views with my setup, thanks to a lot of help from you guys. Just a little note about the recent trip. I was in Utah National Parks, got out a couple nights, partially lit moon, but man, so dark. If you ever get a chance to go to a national park that has 0 people, 0 light pollution, it was something to behold. I'm trying to get my pictures downloaded so I can screen share a couple of just EAA pictures of about 15 to 20 minutes. I know that's a little long for EAA, but it basically resulted in something that I don't have to process and I'm very happy with, and hard to get that in the backyard. One other note for anybody that goes to a dark site, I had ordered a EcoFlow river battery for the trip, and usually I like to try and test these things out before I go on trips, but didn't have a chance, and so I drove out to the way dark Dead Horse State Park, and the thing worked amazing, and I used it over 2 nights, about 8 hours, and it was only down to about 30% battery. So anybody looking for a remote power option, give me a heads up and I'll direct you to this thing. I think Jackery makes a similar product, but this thing had so many ports to plug into. It made the whole thing seamless.
What's the brand name on it, Jeff?
EcoFlow.
EcoFlow.
They make I'll try and put a link up in the chat, but I was pretty happy. That's my one new recent purchase that has been pretty nice. The other thing that you guys have probably seen me complain about on the chats is I've been waiting on a 0.7 reducer for about, I guess I'm at the 4-month mark right now.
Oh no.
But F10 has been pretty fun for Galaxy season. So yeah, if I can get everything working just right, F10 looks pretty nice, framing and everything, but takes a little longer. We'll see.
And what's the scope you're working off of again, Jeff?
It's an Edge 8 HD that I got back in March of last year. I guess when I was starting to look for telescopes, it was right at the beginning of pandemic buy up everything, and this was one of the last things that was available from High Point, and one of those situations where it says on available online and you order it and you immediately get the email that says back order. You're like, oh my God, happens all the time. But luckily I had it within about a month. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Wow.
And thanks for all your help, you guys. Thanks.
Oh, thank you, Jeff, for being here. We're going to come back to you for sure and get you on that screen.
I'll get my screen share in a little bit here.
I think, Frank, we might be up to you. It's good to see you, brother. You fought off COVID and everything else. You got 2 minutes to introduce yourself, brother. Go ahead.
Okay. Wow, I just jumped on. I'm really late to this. I just got back home from my daughter's softball practice. Frank Rossetti. I live in Schenectady, New York. I'm 48 years young and been doing astronomy for the past probably about a year or so. I got my 8-inch SCT Celestron last April, May, maybe, and bought my first camera used off of cloudy nights, started doing some planetary. I have a 224 MC, and then bought my 533 MC Pro cooled this past September, and started doing some more DSO stuff with sharp cap, short exposures. I started with an f6.3 reducer and just took delivery of a Hyperstar about 3 weeks ago, but I've only had it out maybe a handful of times. It's been cloudy here in upstate New York. Tonight was actually crystal clear, so maybe after we get done, I find my way out to the backyard with my gear. So
now, are all Hyperstars 8 inches? I can't remember how Hyperstars are written.
No, the Hyperstar lens is small. It only attaches to the front. You remove the secondary mirror, so they're all the same in terms of their size. They might be a little bit longer depending on on whether you have a C14 or a C11, but they're not interchangeable in that regard. You have to buy the right Hyperstar to match up with the aperture size of your SCT.
Got it.
Yep. And it is sweet. Jeff, I just picked up an IDAS NBZ based off of your recommendation, buddy. So I hope when it gets here, it performs like it should.
If like you, Frank, I've only had my Hyperstar out like twice. So
yeah,
we'll
Frank,
get there.
Frank and Jeff, you've got the luxury of either using the F2, I think it is, goes down to, or certainly the low level, or take it back to F10. So you've got the best of both worlds. With my RASA, there's not a lot I can do, but I love my RASA.
That's the SCT's big, I guess, bullet point in the pro column, I guess, is that you can go all the way from F2 all the way to F20 or F25 if you're doing stuff with a Barlow.
I think Robert was wanting us to feel sorry for him because he only has a RASA. Are you guys picking up on this?
I think that's exactly right. I think you can, f1.9 for the Hyperstar, and you can do I think Optic makes a reducer at the 0.6 level, and then you're going to get the Edge HD 0.7, the native F10. And then I've been tinkering with a setup to get the Barlow into the diagonal and then the camera into the Barlow for some lunar stuff. So I think we're gonna be experimenting for a long range here.
That's crazy.
Bob, you're gonna ask. I tried the F33 reducer from Meade, but it's really would only work well with a camera with a small sensor. I mean, yes, I could get an image of Orion, but the stars that were out at the periphery would have some coma to them. So I got rid of the 3.3 and went with the Hyperstar, which is by far and away the better choice.
Bob, you had a quick question?
Yeah, I do. I was wondering if you guys, and also Jonathan, who I think he said he had a Hyperstar, if you find it, do you find yourself changing back and forth? Is it like trivial to do that? I've watched some YouTubes of it. It doesn't look too tough, and I'm thinking about getting one of those.
What's Jeff holding up? What are you holding up there, Jeff?
This is an 8. This is for the 8-inch This is Hyperstar for the 8-inch. This is a Hyperstar for the 9 1/4.
Huh.
To answer Bob's question, I don't switch back during the night on these two because focus becomes they're about 12,000 turns difference on the focus of the Celestron before I can lock the mirror on the 9 1/4 or I use it on the 8-inch.
Got it.
So I plan ahead of time on what I decide I'm going to look at, basically. So if I need a wider field, I'll go with the Hyperstar. Or if I want to be quick, because F2 in comparison to the 6 or 7 reducer is
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna celebrate your guys' flexibility, but boy, now Jeff, I noticed you got a mask on. Are there other people in your house you kind of have to protect, or?
Yeah, I'm in the house. I'm kind of self-quarantining in the corner.
Do you
I
have
got back.
COVID? Do you have COVID?
No, I
right
got
now?
tested before when I was in Moab and it was negative, but
okay,
we'll get better. But yeah, I'm just trying to give everybody else some safety.
You're giving them the benefit of the doubt until you get back, till you get through what, 7 days or whatever.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna get tested again tomorrow before I go back to work.
Okay.
Just to double check.
Wow. Okay. All right, Thiago, we're up to you, brother. I'm looking forward to your Astro Canito.
Yeah, that's my login Cloudy Nights.
Okay.
Well, I live in Portugal, in the south of Europe, near the border with Spain. I mean Algarve, it's the south of Portugal. Behind me, it's Africa, North Africa, and all my life connected with astronomy, but with little refractors. And actually I have here these old binoculars that were from family passing to my father and then to me. I still use them, you see. And the game changer was last year when I decided I knew more or less what I want, and I decided to buy this 12-inch Dobsonian, and then an equatorial platform, a nice one, and I start imaging with the ZWO 224, which is great. And then recently, and when at the moment I could do something in EAA was with the 224, and when I enter EAA, I could get the live stacking right away. I bought the 294, and I'm very happy. I fit very well in EAA.
Thiago, will your 14-inch track on that equatorial mount then?
I have 12-inch.
Oh, 12-inch, 12. But will it track on that mount?
Yes, it's a single axis. I can't handle the rotation, but I do nice pictures. I have my YouTube channel also.
Yes.
With I will put the link there.
Please. Boy, that's great. Yes.
Dedicated to the Dobsonian and now more to EAA because I'm loving EAA.
Wow,
and,
Thiago, that is great that you figured out a way to track your Dobsonian.
You know what, this kind of setup, I choose this kind of setup because I like very much the visual observation.
Yes.
I can't let go the visual observation. I love it.
Yes.
So I kind of manage the way to have a bit of all in my setup.
Yes.
And just that I have 50 years old, and there's nothing much more to say about me.
Okay. Well, Tiago, it's nice to meet you. Now, I think we already talked to you, didn't we, Jim?
Yeah.
You were the Jim from South Dakota, right? That's right, isn't it? I want to make sure, Jim, that we don't miss you. And then is this Gary? Is that Gary Hawkins down there? Just Gary?
Yeah, that was Gary Hawkins. He's had a karate graduation to attend for his daughter Joy, so he's had to step away.
Okay, he's the guy that's probably been doing the broadcast longer than, as far as I know, been doing the broadcast longer than any of us. But well, I'll just go for 2 minutes. And to be fair, I'm going to set the clock on myself as well. You guys probably already know that I was out of the hobby as well. I got into it in the early 2000s for a while with the CPC 8. And it just sat there for a long time while I was busy doing a lot of other things. But a homeschool group asked me to speak to them about astronomy in November. And I was embarrassed because I brought out this telescope, and honestly, they had to line up and look at it one at a time. And finally, the teacher came over to me and she said this, "Doesn't it have a screen?" And I thought, no, it doesn't have a screen. And I felt so bad that I said, I'm going to figure out a way to have a screen. And I went to Cloudy Nights, and lo and behold, here was this EAA group giving us a way to have a screen. And that's how I got back into it. So I found a guy. He gave me $2,000 for my CPC 8. And that more than paid for the RASA. And then I had to save for the Skywatcher EQ6R Pro mount. So you can already tell I've been set back quite a bit in the last 2 or 3 months. But I did have some savings, and my wife was kind to me not to scotch too much about it. So I did buy then finally one of those ASI 2600 cameras that are also expensive. And I'm just trying to learn to hook the things together. And so if you've seen me struggle in a video or heard me talk on Cloudy Nights, you know that I am eager, but boy, it's a struggle. I suppose the things I'm struggling with right now are about focus. And one of you mentioned something about focus. So I think I had said in the Cloudy Nights group, I would love the topic of beyond the Batanov mass, because I found with an F2 small depth of field that for me, the Batanov mask was not sharp enough focusing routine. So I've just been working on trying to do Nina and use the autofocus routine in that. And that's been helping me a lot. So I think we've been through everybody. Did we miss anybody on the 2-minute introduction? Somebody help me out. Did we miss anyone? Okay, good. So everybody's gotten a chance to do the 2-minute introduction. Now let's take stock of the time we have left. We've got, if we said we'd end in 45 minutes, we've got about 45 minutes left. And in terms of topics, I heard somebody ask about how we're doing the broadcasting. So it seems like that's maybe a Mike Jerry question or Gary Hawkins question. I mean, I have made some stabs at it, but after just, 16 nights out, I'm not going to say that I'm authoritative enough to speak about it. So if we get Gary Hawkins back, he can go. But in the meantime, that might be a Mike Jerry question. And then somebody asked about focusing in a way, Rol, you are, I guess, Robert, you were using the autofocus in ASI Air Pro. Maybe we'll have somebody talk about their focus routine that's more calibrative and not necessarily visual. We've all tried to do it visually, maybe with a Batanov mask. Are there other questions, or did anybody else prepare like a 7-minute, kind of presentation? Anybody else? Don't be shy. And if you want, you can put it in the chat. If you just want to type it into the chat, if you've got a 7-minute presentation ready on something, I'll tell you what, if you've got a 7-minute presentation, why don't you put it in the chat? And in the meantime, Mike Jerry, let's just interview you about how you've been doing your broadcasts, because you've been doing them for what, 6 months or a year?
I think since last, gosh, I don't remember when, I think last September might have been my first, September, October.
At least 6 or 7 months.
He's not here. He's not here right now, but Gary is actually the person who inspired me to do it. So he's kind of the one who got me kicked off. And since then, I've ended up doing.
Walk us through your workflow on doing the broadcast just briefly, and then if Gary comes back, we'll catch him. But just give us like 5 minutes on your workflow.
Well, aside from getting the scope set up itself, which I'm sure we all are familiar with, and everybody has their own unique mechanics around that anyway, given their own unique setups. I broadcast strictly to YouTube, which helps simplify things for me. I don't do Zoom or anything else, although I may be branching out at some point soon on that. But right now, I just use YouTube. And so you set up a channel on YouTube, and you have to, if I remember right, you have to apply for it. And then they make you wait at least 24 or 48 hours before you can actually do a broadcast. So they don't have a bunch of spammers just spamming up a bunch of crap videos. And then they give you a broadcast key. And that key is, well, just like it sounds, it's your way of unlocking the door so that you can actually broadcast through. And so you want to keep that key secure, since that is your own broadcast, how you broadcast into your channel. And so I just use YouTube. The broadcasting software I use is called OBS. It's Open Broadcaster Suite software. So I forget what it's called. Open Broadcast Studio. It's an open source piece of software, so it's free, and it works. It works really well. And so what you do is you go into that, and through quite a bit of trial and error, you can figure out what the settings are that you need to set up in there to not only match up with an appropriate resolution for YouTube, but also something within your bandwidth to broadcast on, which for me is fairly tight, because out here in the middle of the desert, we have great skies, but not great internet. So quite frankly, I'm stunned that I can actually broadcast at 720p from where I live, but I'm able to. And so you have to put all those settings into OBS and get it, all running right. You put your YouTube key in there so that OBS can talk to your YouTube channel. And Gary and I can both help with the settings on that. So if you have questions about your OBS, in fact, I think Gary may have already done a video on setting up your OBS and tuning your OBS. I think he even talks about using scenes instead of sources, etc. So he has a couple of videos that he's done on it. But Gary or I are happy to answer questions about using OBS to connect to your YouTube at any time. You can just send us a PM or whatever, or even just start a thread might be a good thing if enough people are interested. Probably they have the same questions you do, so just start a thread. But either way, we're happy to answer questions about it. But OBS is what actually does your broadcasting. You tell OBS, okay, I want to use this camera, I want to use this microphone, I want you to take from this source. Here's the videos coming from here, the audio is coming from there, and it puts it all together and sends it all off to YouTube, where if everything's working right and your bandwidth is not going hokey, which mine sometimes does, then YouTube will have a good signal, and you'll be able to just broadcast out there, and you can just start. There's a lot of little bells and whistles. There's a lot of little tweaks here and there. I mean, I still got the other night, I'm probably on my 15th or 20th live stream. And the other night I start my live stream and I'm talking away for 3 minutes. And then I realized I forgot to hit the go live button on YouTube. So there's lots of little bells and whistles and buttons to push and things to get right. It's not for the faint of heart. It's doing these live streams is a culmination of a lot of disciplines, not only just, your astronomy nerd stuff, but you have to be a computer nerd, a networking nerd, a software nerd. You have to be not an expert in all the pieces of software you're using, but fairly decent in them. And ShopCap is in itself a heck of a learning curve. So it's not for the faint of heart. But if you're already doing EAA, then you've probably already got most of that first side handled or on your way to getting it handled, things like SharpCap and that sort of stuff. Taking the live broadcasting, and the next step involves OBS and involves your interaction with YouTube and getting all those buttons pressed and getting your levels correct in OBS such that your microphone, you're not blowing people out as opposed to they can't hear you at all. And if you decide to take the next level and do some background music, like I've started using in mine, which another thing that came, I think, from Gary, then you have to, make sure those levels are all right so you're not drowning yourself out. So it's exciting, but it's not for the faint of heart. Now that I'm in about, like I said, 15 or 20 live streams in, I'm starting to get much more comfortable with it. But the first few are nerve-wracking, aren't they, Doug?
Yeah, they are. You're starting to develop a muscle memory on some of those things, though.
Right. Yeah.
That's
After
what
a
you need.
while.
That's what you need, don't you? To get rid of the stress, because otherwise you do feel like you're your 7-ring circus for a while. I put in the chat panel, I keep saying under my breath, just to make myself laugh, I keep repeating the mantra, what can possibly go wrong? Because there's so many things that can go wrong.
Yeah, one thing I found when doing a live stream on YouTube is don't have any kind of music or playing in the background, because after you it goes in, it checks, and then you get an email from YouTube saying you've been banned for copyright infringement.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. I can actually address that a little bit.
I just deleted the bits where the music was on.
Well, I've been using background music on mine for a while, and you can actually use it. You can either go to an approved vendor from YouTube and buy their music, which some people buy a license. There are also artists who put their music on YouTube and give license for both creative, commercial, as well as public use, as long as you give them credit. And so that's why on all the posts I do on Cloudy Nights, as well as the description of my live streams in YouTube, I always put music by Jesse Gallagher, et cetera, et cetera. And it's always very clear in everything I post about it and everything I broadcast about it and advertise. And so I've never had a problem with it. And he's one of the artists who just says, as long as you're using this stuff just on YouTube, it's yours to use.
Great.
Yeah, I just had the radio on in the background whilst.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Robert,
that'll do it.
That's like right underneath terrorism. What were you thinking, Robert?
What if you're what if you're accompanying your broadcast with something, like classical, like Mozart or Bach? I mean, do you require copyright licensing or anything for that?
Well, music that old is obviously well beyond its copyright date, and it's typically public domain, unless the particular orchestra / symphony / conductor wants to try and take rights. So that's kind of a gray area.
It's actually not gray. My livelihood is sound engineering, and there are mechanical royalties involved, as well as just whoever composed the music and all that stuff. So you can't get in trouble. I have actually had, not on YouTube, but on Facebook, I had one of my own songs taken down. It gets complicated. Trust me, it gets very complicated.
Wow.
But I think in general, the way that Mike is doing it is the way to go. I mean, that sounds like totally the way to go on it.
Yes, get
Mike,
royalty-free music sources. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But be clear, royalty-free does not mean free. Royalty-free means sometimes you have to pay for it, and it's not. Don't take royalty-free as meaning you don't have to pay money. Sometimes you do.
Why didn't I think that? Just because it says royalty-free, why didn't I know this? That's great. What could possibly go wrong? Okay, well, guys, thanks a lot for sharing that. And like Mike said, if you have more questions, you can start a thread on Cloudy Nights, and he'll have more. Let's address the focusing question just a little bit. I'll just do 2 minutes enough to share with you guys. Let me see. I'll just share this screen. This is a segment that I did, and I won't share the audio right now, but this is where I'm going into Nina. And if I've shut my camera off in SharpCap and turn my focuser off in SharpCap, if it was connected, then I connect the camera in Nina now, and then go to the focuser and connect the focuser in Nina. Then I go down and I click on the imaging tab in just a second. Yeah, connect on imaging, and I have my tab already set for autofocus. And once you click on autofocus, it's going to use the half full radius, the HFR, and it just does it. I mean, you don't have to know anything about it. I've watched a bunch of videos about it and tried to research it, but basically it's measuring the size of those stars and trying to calculate what position stop results in the smallest size stars. And Robert was using the same thing in an equivalent. Now I see he's got ASI Pro and it's doing the same thing. So for those of you who are in SharpCap and you're not using ASI Pro, this would be the same exact routine that he did in ASI Air Pro. It basically takes 2 or 3 minutes, and I'll kind of jump ahead here and go to the end so we can see the result. You can see how it makes that bell curve, and it finds the lowest spot. And depending on whether you have a trend line chosen in the drop-down box, it leaves your focusing motor set at the adjustment that it thought was the smallest pinpoint for starlight that it could find out of all these settings that it checked. So unlike anything in SharpCap that I could find so far, maybe somebody said it was because I have the wrong focus motor, and maybe some focus motors, it is more automated. But for a Celestron focus motor, there is no automated routine in SharpCap for me in the definition that I'm using. This is totally automated, and I kind of like the fact that it is calibrated mathematically, and I like the fact that I don't have to try to guess visually where I am. And then when I go back to SharpCap, it's just focused, and all those little tiny stars are pinpoint focused. So for me, that's the part that I'm learning now. Somebody else share. I don't know who talked about focus in the chat panel, but maybe would someone else like to talk about what you're learning about calibrating the focus for something besides visual? Anybody?
I'll say,
Okay,
I
Jeff.
know JJ Betts had some input on the ASI Air Pro, and that's what I use too. It gives a similar thing. It gives you a V curve of the half max, and I found it to be close. I kind of trusted it 100% to start. It'll basically do a very broad V band, and then it'll go back to the bottom and do some very fine focus points with smaller steps, and then it'll pinpoint the place where it thinks is the smallest star. What I've noticed recently is that point is often just a little ways off of the bottom of their calculated V curve, depending on your seeing. And so what I've started to do was, instead of trusting the red dot that they predict, is picking a spot maybe halfway between that and the actual bottom of the V curve that they calculated, and sort of splitting the difference. And that's worked a lot better for the ASI Air Pro V curve.
I have a question, Jeff. Is there a backlash compensation adjustment built into the routine?
There is a place in the settings where you can plug that value in, and I haven't been able to figure out how to determine that on ASI Air Pro. Maybe JJ Betts can. So my backlash compensation, while not 0, I think in my settings is probably 0. So that's why.
Yes. All of us ought to experiment with that, because some of the guys that I've been trying to follow and research and learn from say that they've had to set, like people like that Queeve, the
lazy geek.
The lazy geek over in Japan, his backlash for his Celestron motor was 90 off. So that's pretty significant. If you're going in steps of 20 like I am, to be 90 off on your backlash compensation, it means where it says that your lowest point is, you might actually be 4 stops off. So as much as 80 or 90 off. So I think that's what we have to.
And his thing looked very unscientific as far as how he arrived at that. I wish there was I wish there was a routine that you could press in these programs and it would calculate backlash for you.
Nina does have a backlash compensation routine that it's supposed to be used to be able to figure, and it determined that mine was 30, but I don't know if it's that scientific or not. I think we ought to do some nights where we just test it visually and see how they look after it does that V curve. But boy, I love the fact that it's other than my eyes with a pinpoint star, in a diffraction spike mask, because I'm just not getting it exact enough with that diffraction spike mask.
Jeff, I think the latest beta release on the ASI has got something more on backlash. It's something that I've not looked at all, but I was just reading through the release notes.
Now, you guys that are using ASI Air Pro, if you're logged on to the Wi-Fi of the ASI Air Pro, then how would you broadcast on OBS to the outside world? Because you're not able to be on two Wi-Fis at once, are you?
I think the trick with that, and Robert, you can confirm this, is have it on a laptop running the Android emulator and have it have everything run through your house Wi-Fi. So your computer would be on your home Wi-Fi running the Knox or BlueStacks being beamed out to your ASI Air Pro. Is that right, Robert?
I've got it slightly different. I connect my telescope, the ASI, via Ethernet cable Cat6 through to my router. I've got two screens. So I use the iPad mirror on the second screen, and in OBS, that's what I'm using to share. So on one screen, it's whatever I'm wanting to broadcast. So I can then change to websites. I can then change to, and sort of move around. And on the main screen or first screen is where the OBS software is running and broadcasting out to YouTube.
Boy, Robert, that was pretty hard to figure out, wasn't it?
No, I just looked up YouTube.
I see.
And one of the things, as I said, on OBS, it's fairly easy to use once you get the hang of the different sort of bits of real estate that you have to sort of link to.
But for me, the juggling act was how you figured out how to link to the ASI Air Pro via Cat6 while you're on Wi-Fi with somebody else.
Well, no, as I said, it goes through to my router, which my desktop is connected to. Because I'm sitting next to the router on the iPad, that's the Wi-Fi link. So it is sort of short range.
I think the ASI Pro, like you can connect it, basically, you can either connect your iPad or something directly to the ASI Air Pro, or you can connect your ASI to your network, basically.
Oh, I see.
Once you connect it to your network, you can then access it like you would anything else on your network, basically.
I see. So it's actually speaking through the network instead of logging on to the ASI Pro.
Correct.
Oh, that makes a lot more sense.
Giving Cloudy Nights some credit, one of the ways to get ASI Air Pro inside your house is to use this Slate router or TP-Link travel router. And I think there must be like an 8 or 9 page thread there with all the Wi-Fi settings and addresses, and people have already worked all this stuff out. And so
I didn't know this.
It's there. You just got to find it.
Yeah, I found that. I tried that route as well. I'm 30 meters away from my telescope, so that's the distance between us. And even with the TP, well, the Wi-Fi link on the ASI Air Pro is, I was going to swear,
rubbish.
It's not good. It's about 2 inches. And I probably do an injustice. So that's why I went TP-Link, and I had all sorts of problems because I live in a residential area. Everyone has got their own Wi-Fi, and there was a lot of clashes, even though, you could sort of change channels and things like that. So that's why I went the wired route, a bit like the USB to Ethernet that was described earlier. It's the best. I don't drop out unless my internet provider drops out. It's been, sort of fantastic.
Okay. Well, I know we diverged off of focusing, but I think this is an interesting topic. But if we go with the ASI Air Pro, remind me, Jeff and Robert, we are no longer able to use SharpCap then, right?
Yeah, that's correct. SharpCap works on a PC, so if in order for me to do that, I'd have to unplug everything from the ASI, which is USB connections,
Got it.
and plug that into a mini PC.
So you're making a decision about your system, really. If you go with ASI Pro, you are in an ASI Air Pro family of systems.
Yeah.
Versus if you want to use SharpCap, you're in a different system, aren't you?
Yeah. And I think that's why I want to go down SharpCap route. The ASI is it's good. As I said, I'm very lazy. I like the idea of just pushing a button and it does everything for me. But I think SharpCap, seeing you, Jeff, and seeing some of you other guys' videos and other people, there seems to be more functionality in SharpCap, and that's something I want to get into. But unfortunately, I've not been able to go. I've not been able to make it work. I can connect, the camera works and everything like that, but as you know, Doug, I still can't plate solve, and I don't know why. Tracking is, or guiding is all over the place. A PhD is intermittent, but with the new link from ASI, it's got multi-star guiding as well. And since I've had that, I'm just going to can I share my screen for a moment?
Yes, Robert, by all means. We're all
I actually have to take off, guys. I got something to get to. So have a great evening. Doug, thank you for having this. And catch you guys next time. See you Cloudy Nights.
Thanks for the presentation.
Thank you, Mike. We enjoyed it.
I think I'll be out of here now, guys, as well. It's getting pretty late here in Spain. So.
Oh, yes. By all means. Thank you.
Been fascinating. I'll catch up on the rest of this in the recording. Thanks very much, guys.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. I should have been recording this. That's terrible. I hope I was. I don't know. Yes, it is recording.
It says
Never
recording
mind.
on that.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
It's been up in the corner the entire time.
Yeah, I'm so glad it was automatic. I'm so glad.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, Robert.
Since I've gone to multi-star, my it's quite high. 1.29 is the total, but that's been my sort of where I was 3-4 when it was just a single star. I'm just going to see if I can.
So this is not using PhD.
No,
it's
this is ASI, and this is the multi-star. I'm just going to get rid of the graph so you can see the box is the star that it chooses, and then it selects the other ones in the circle. It selects those, and I believe the reason for that, and as I say, this is a knockoff from PhD. They've obviously got some kind of license agreement.
Arrangement.
But if the seeing is bad on one area, so if this star goes behind a cloud, it's got all of these to work on as well.
Yes.
So yeah,
Impressive.
so that's why I sort of like it.
So it is nice in that you don't have to try to pull together little components from disparate developers. It's all in one family, and that probably is really nice, isn't it?
It is in some ways, but you're tied to ZWO. You have to buy their cameras, their autofocus, and everything else. You know, you don't have the opportunity. You can, sort of buy other vendor QHY, for things like that.
I also noticed like the amount of exposure settings. Like, Robert, have you figured out a way to like do something besides between 10 and 30 seconds? It seems like there's a bunch of settings up to 10 seconds, and then there's a big gap between 10 and 30.
You can customize. If you
Can you? I couldn't figure it out. How do you do that?
If you scroll all the way to the bottom past all the exposures, there's a thing that says custom, and you click that, and you can enter whichever second value you like.
Okay, perfect.
It's got it in an intuitive place. It's all the way at the bottom.
I haven't stumbled across it the first few
past like 10,000 seconds. So,
and it then becomes part of your list, so you can select it easily afterwards.
Okay, cool.
What I haven't figured out is the histogram. I know everyone else talks about the histogram. I just
play around with it.
Yeah, I just look 1 minute or whatever on the f2. That's plenty fast, and just hit go. But yeah, there is a custom feature.
So ASI Air Pro does have a histogram that you can adjust, though.
Only
more
for
limited.
it is very limited, and it's only for what's on the screen. The image that's on the screen at the moment. It doesn't
Like the display histogram in SharpCap.
So if you stack and everything, like you can save the files, but you've then got to process as you would, and that's another reason why I like EAA.
Yeah. So I tell you what, guys, I keep saying that phrase over and over. I've shared it with you. What can possibly go wrong? I mean, there are so many things that can go wrong with this hobby. I mean, the very simplest thing can go wrong. The last live stream I did last week, the AC breaker was out in the building at our organization where I plug in. And that's just a very, very small example of what could go wrong. But that meant, okay, so my laptop is not going to have electricity. I mean, I have the battery supplies for everything else, but as you guys know, I'm out there in my truck. So I had to fire up the truck, and then I'm using the AC adapter in my Expedition, and I had to use the Wi-Fi hotspot off of the Expedition's. I do have, thank goodness, I have built-in Wi-Fi in that Expedition. So here I am live streaming from the little cell phone hotspot inside my Ford Expedition instead of with gigabyte internet from that building. It's just so many things can go wrong. Hats off to all of you guys that have been fighting this. I was watching a YouTube presenter recently who had been doing this for 11 years. And I finally just had to write him. I found a way to contact the guy, and he was down in Aruba of all things, and I think, or maybe Trinidad Tobago, I think, Trinidad Tobago. Isa Mohammed was his name. And I wrote Isa and said, "You've been doing our hobby for 11 years. And I cannot believe this." He said, "Well, it's really not that big of a deal, Doug, but that's nice of you to say." No, you were doing EAA for 11 years. And I just respect that so much that somebody has stuck with this with determination. And I think all of us have to have that kind of staying power. We can't let the things that go wrong get us down. Okay. So now you guys have been mentioning guiding. Do you mind if we ask briefly about guiding? Is that okay if we just ask somebody for help on that? Or is there another topic you guys want to do?
I actually wanted to revisit focus for a second.
Okay, please.
With a specific question to the Hyperstar guys. Is it completely hopeless to focus this thing without an EAF?
Not using an EAF yet. I was actually going to ask Robert where he's
not
what
at all.
EAF he's using.
I mean, I have both a Celestron and a ZWO focuser, but it's not necessary because I don't have it on the 8. And I just have a Feather Touch and the GSO rack focuser is obviously for visual. Neither reducer comes off either one, so I never go back to an F10 on either one. I basically switch back and forth. But no, you can focus the right there with it. I use the Feather Touch for the Hyperstar on the 8-inch without any issue.
So Bobby just reaches up with his laptop beside the scope, and he focuses and waits for the image, right, Jeff?
Well, I have a nuke that I take out, and then I use a 22-inch Lenovo screen that I use. Besides the main screen, obviously, that the camera is sitting on, which is a much bigger screen that I'll broadcast to sometimes because I'll control indoors as well.
Like remote desktoping.
Yeah, I just use.
But how do you touch the focus knob if you're not out there by the scope? You can't do that from inside.
Well, I go out there and I focus before I come in and do whatever. There's not.
So you got your laptop with you while you're out there.
The nuke stays out there. I can either use it headless or I normally just have the screen out there because there's a lot of setup that involves, obviously, you need to be able to look at whether you're using an electronic focuser or whether you're doing it by hand.
Does that answer your question, Bob?
Pretty much. How about you, Jonathan? You don't use.
So what I just got the Hyperstar and the ASA a couple of weeks ago. So what I've been doing so far is just going to the focus mode that in the ASI Air app and just doing a very quick, like about a half a second refresh. And then I'm just manually adjusting and trying to get the numbers kind of low. Like it has the two different numbers, the one that you're supposed to get lower and the one that you're supposed to try to get as high as possible. I'll tell you, frankly, I do it more visually, I would say, than anything though. I'm just kind of looking at the picture on the screen and it's returning. I feel like that seems to work a little bit better. I was actually curious, Robert, because I know on the C6, it didn't look like they make a bracket for the autofocuser for the C6. So I was curious how you got that to work.
If you go to Thingiverse, I think it is, and do a search, there's a lot of people do 3D printed brackets. But ZWO do metal brackets now for a range of
right, I think, but it starts at C8 from what I could tell. I don't think they have anything for the 6.
I got mine from Agena.
Oh.
You got yours from Agena?
Yeah, going
Jeff?
back to that same question. So my first night out with the Hyperstar was rough with the focus because I guess, as you know, the ZWO EAF has about a 60,000 step range. And my focus on the Hyperstar was probably 40,000 away from where I was at F10. So once I got those measurements ballparked, I know that my Hyperstar focus without a filter is somewhere around 8,000. My normal focus stop is somewhere around 42,000 for F10. And so when I put the Hyperstar in, I just go straight to 8,000 on my iPad. And it'll get me ballpark, and then I can use the autofocus routine to get me pretty close.
Yeah. The other thing you can do with the focus is you can reset. I had exactly the same issue. Once it gets to 0, and once it gets to 60,000, that's it. It won't move. So what I kept on doing was when I got to the end of the range, I reset that to 30,000. Right. So I had the opportunity, and it did take a while, but once I found it, I left it on 30,000, so I know roughly where it is.
Yeah, now I have pretty specific set points of, I know if I'm at F10, I know my focus is somewhere in the 40,000, 42,000 range. If I'm at Hyperstar, I'm at 8,000. If I'm at Hyperstar with my filter, I'm at 7,000. So I can pretty much dial in my focus depending on what I'm doing.
Ballpark.
What does that mean?
I was going to say, that's the other thing on the ASI. You can set it if you've got a filter wheel, for example. You've got a setting on there to refocus on every filter change. You can. There's a temperature setting as well if you've got a thermometer attached to it, and also a time limit. So that again, the laziness aspect for me.
So again, my question would come down to, if I want to go Hyperstar, am I buying into an ASIR Pro and an autofocuser, etc., or can I do it somehow manually, like we're talking Batonov mask style?
Yeah, well, providing you can get the correct Batonov mask for your telescope.
Yeah, that's covered. Got that.
You can get a Batonov mask that'll go around the Hyperstar. I know that they make
those.
Or put a dew shield on it.
The end of my dew shield anyway.
That'll
so
work too.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so that would work or not?
It does work on the end of the dew shield.
On the end of the dew, yeah.
You have to buy a Cadbury's chocolate.
Yes.
I had a question about.
Gotta carefully cut it out.
I had a question for Jeff. Jeff, with changing, focus like that, depending on whether you're running just the Hyperstar or the Hyperstar with a filter or without. I mean, if changing the focus based on those differences, what does that mean in terms of taking flats after that, or you do not take flats before you start?
Oh, good. Well,
Black
that's,
stacking.
as you know, with all this stuff, it's always evolving. I would say that when I got the Hyperstar, I was still doing sky flats with the t-shirts.
Mhm.
And I would take, I kind of knew where my focus settings were for Hyperstar and then Hyperstar with the NBZ, and they were about 1,500 steps off.
Yep.
And so I would do flats at the Hyperstar setting, and then do another level of flats with the NBZ filter at the other focus setting, minus 1,500. So with the sky flats, you've got a limited time window of when the sun's in the perfect spot to get a 2 to 3 second flat. And so I would do the unfiltered ones first, and then put the filter in. And then at that point, the sun's gone down further. And now I can get the 2 to 3 second flat with the, or maybe it's reversed. I need more sunlight.
Probably
with the
reversed
NBC.
because the
Yeah.
filter's blocking. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
probably
right.
doing the filtered work. Yep.
So I did, so anyway, that was the t-shirt flats. And now I've got this, I got a flat panel from Illumiglow. I don't know if anybody's heard of that or not. I had my first experience with that this week too. It's a battery operated 10-inch disc that's dimmable. And I use
Kind of
that. And it's
expensive. Kind of expensive.
a lot less than the Flatmaster and the
Yes.
Spica flat. So it's in the 150 range.
150,
So
yeah.
I tried the flat panel and it was lit from the top and the bottom, so it wasn't even. And so that's going back. And it was, granted, it was $30, but I didn't think it was going to give a nice even image, even with t-shirts.
Yeah.
The Illumiglow comes with an acrylic panel to go between it and the telescope. And so the first time trying it, I had a 3 second flat with no issue, with a 30,000 ADU spike right in the middle. And so, so far with EAA, that's worked tremendously well. The next experiment is going to be to do that with Hyperstar.
Guys,
So
let's jump in and let Gary do a 2-minute introduction. And then Gary, we also wondered if you'd give us another 3 or 4 minutes. So you're closing us out. Do you have any tips that you haven't mentioned in your video that we all want to watch? It's in those of us who haven't watched it yet. Frank put it here in the chat panel about your video about broadcasting. Anything else you want to say about OBS for those who want to learn to broadcast this? But first of all, take your 2 minutes to introduce yourself. We all did that and you weren't here. So 2 minutes to introduce who is Gary.
Yeah, I was took my daughter to her Taekwondo graduation. So she's doing martial arts. She's 6. So I'm a member of the San Diego Astronomy Association. My primary interest is outreach. So we were doing a lot of outreach prior to the pandemic, about 120 events a year, mainly to schools and to the public. Obviously with the pandemic, that all went down the tubes. So we started doing an online program, and that's how I got to meet many of you guys through that. And we've continued doing that, and we probably will continue doing that now, even as we start to open up here in California a little bit. I don't think we're probably more than about 2 months away from possibly going back to doing some public events again, albeit that they might be socially distanced. So most of you know what my setup is. It's based around a C8 SCT. And I use that for both EAA. I've actually got 2 scopes. I've got an XT8 as well that I'm trying to get my daughter to get enthusiastic about. And my interests are primarily EAA, and recently I've got into photometry as well. So I'm doing quite a lot of work at the moment in the area of photometry. So that's kind of the introduction. OBS, really good streaming package. It's free, as many of you know. You can use it in a relatively simple mode, which I think I described in a video, which I think was probably the one that you were referring to, where you basically just set up the parameters that you want for the particular scene that you want to broadcast and broadcast that scene. Or you can actually get somewhat more complicated about it. There's a scene function and a source function, and you can actually define within the scene function what sources you're going to use, and then it's really nice because you can start mixing scenes and transitioning scenes and stuff like that. I personally find the OBS sort of as it comes easy enough to use. There are a couple of wraparounds, I think, that you can use for OBS that come from different websites that make the interface a little bit different, but I've never found them to be any better, so I just use OBS as a standalone. It's also great for doing, just recording of whether you're, you want to put a video together on to show, going through a particular process on a PC. It's great for doing, a video where you're grabbing several of your screenshots and mixing that. The other thing that I've just actually bought as well, which we're doing tests with, is a, you can probably see it here, a $15 video capture card. This thing's kind of cool. It's right here. It's a HDMI input and USB on the other side. And this is really nice. If you've got somebody that you want to bring into your OBS live stream and they're in a different location, they can like either Zoom or Skype in. You put that up on a second screen. But instead of having the second screen displaying it, it goes straight into the video capture card. And you can bring that straight into OBS as just a webcam type input. And for $15, it's a really, the test we've done so far, the quality is really good. I got it off Amazon. If anybody's interested, I can send them a link.
You're saying it shows up almost as if it's a webcam.
Yes, it does. It
gotcha.
shows up as a 720p webcam.
Nice.
And was there a question? Sorry.
No, I think that was.
Obviously not. So yes, it shows up as a webcam, and it's a really nice way of like, I do a lot of live streaming with a guy called Dave Decker, and it allows Dave to be in one place, me to be in another place, and
that's how you're doing that.
Well, we've not done it to date like that. We've actually brought Skype straight into OBS, but it's much easier to bring it in on a capture card.
Okay, there's the capture card there. Okay, well, Gary, that takes us up to our 9 o'clock time. And I know we have guys in Europe that have stayed up for this, so I don't want to abuse our time. So let's do this again. Do you want to go once every quarter, or does anybody want to try to do this once a month? Is that too often to do it once a month?
Not me.
Once a month?
I can do once a month.
Okay, well, we'll throw out the idea of once a month date, and maybe next time we'll try to position it so that people like in maybe the West Coast can have darkness, and then we'll eventually end up back here in the East Coast to have darkness. So that way somebody's always giving us something live. We give you a big hand, Rol, because you showed us live imagery. Robert, big hand to you because you showed us live images. If I'm forgetting, anybody else did? Did anybody else able to show us? No, Tiago, you had clouds.
No,
so
clouds.
I think Europe was well represented with our live imaging tonight. Next time we'll maybe shoot for the West Coast. And I know it'll always be uncomfortable for somebody. Somebody's gonna have to stay up late no matter when we do this. And then we'll get, another couple of continents involved, Australia and Asia and everything. And then it'll just be a circus, But let's rotate it around and see what we can find. I want to thank you guys for being able to play along. I know that this is a zany thing that we do, but you did. You were troopers, and I go back to that Messier Marathon the same way. You guys were troopers to go along with that stuff, and I just want to thank you for, trusting me as your friend and kind of as a coworker with you. I promise, Scouts Honor, I'm going to always try to be nice and not abuse this friendship you're showing me for trying these zany ideas. So anything else before we go?
Yeah. Gary, did you get any fish when we did the marathon?
Right, the fishing trip.
We blanked that day, which was a bit of a disappointment, but we are planning to go out again soon.
Okay.
And Rob, if you want to do a Zoom call one day, I'm quite happy to. I can
That's a good
walk you
idea.
through some aspects of SharpCap if you want.
If that was directed to me,
It was.
definitely,
Yep.
definitely.
That's great.
I've got the Edge 8 with an AVX mount, which is gathering dust. I've not been able to use it. All sorts of issues, but yeah, I would appreciate that.
All
Yeah,
right.
I mean, we can arrange something and do a Zoom call. I can do early in the morning to get to you late in the afternoon. So
yeah, whatever works best, so that you at least we've got some darkness on my side.
Because you guys speak kind of the same language, I'm sure you can understand each other better too with the English accent. Okay. All right, guys. Thanks again for this time. I hope you have a great evening. Jeff Horn, I hope you stay well.
I think Jeff had a
you.
question. Jeff had a question before you go. He had his hand up before I sort
Jeff,
of
I'm
jumped
sorry.
in.
Did you have a
No,
question?
I was clapping.
Oh, that's very kind, Jeff.
This
Thank
has
you
been
guys
brilliant.
so much.
Thank you all.
You guys are so
Thank
kind.
you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for
Great,
staying up
everyone.
late.
Thanks, everybody.
Europeans, thanks for staying up late. Thank you.
Thanks, Doug, for putting this together.
I'm very, very honored to do so. You're very kind to say. God bless. Good night.